multicultural marketing on its own is meaningless. The hard data is that almost 15% is actually IT workers born in India.
Right.
Switch it around and say Indian origin, then it will be about 20%. And there's almost 1/5 of your technology workforce, age group, which are largely Indians. And this has happened in the last 2-3 decades.
How do you see that in your business or overall India-UK business partnership would evolve in the next couple of years?
So the India-UK relationship is at a very sensitive, vulnerable situation. And I'm saying all this because while we have all the bonhomie going and sound bites sound great, there is an underlying sentiment, because of the success.
We are one of the ideal migrant in any country want to have it. So what is the reason? I was recently reading about a girl was just a couple of days back was attacked on a railway station just because he was an Indian.
So people like to call themselves entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are supposed to fill a gap
Yeah.
which others have not done. Anthony Robbins, who's a master coach, and he says that if you're going to get into a business which someone else is doing, you better be at least a few 100% better than them.
Thank you, Manish, for joining the Global Desi podcast.
Thanks.
I've been chasing you for a long time. Finally, I know you're a busy man. We do a lot of things. So, Manish, you built UK's most respected multicultural brand. So if you have to describe your journey in just 3 words, what would that be?
Opportunity, optimism, and being there
Right,
for the community.
being there for the community.
You can phrase it the other way as well.
Right.
Being at the right place at the right time. But I think optimism is key. Because when I came, I didn't see this path. The path, as someone has very nicely put it, the path appears when you start walking on it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of that. And as I said, the community link is important. Not that I'm into politics, but
You know a lot of people in politics.
So because it's a smaller community here, and that connect with different parts of the community, I think that's really important.
Amazing. So, was there a moment in your life then you realize that this is what I want to do? Multicultural marketing is my calling.
So, Pradeep, I'll just rewind back a little bit.
Yes.
So, like all good middle-class Indian families, I come from a background where I study engineering and did what, not my family, but what the peer groups would want you to be in a safe place.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
Doctor, engineers, or lawyers.
so I did follow that path, but till the time I realized that it's actually not my calling. So the alternatives were presenting itself. So I got into advertising early. And then when I was in UK, I was trying to find a path, which meant that I was looking at what I can do.
Right.
And then I was doing writing because I loved reading. So, when you love reading, you end up doing a bit of writing. And then I knew that I had some alternate drive to find my own path. So it was a combination of things. And the phase when I came to UK was the Blair era, the New Britain, as they call it, as Blair's time was known as. So then there were opportunities in marketing, that the intersection of marketing, culture, and what Britain was becoming, a society which is multicultural society. Yeah.
So take us back. Now you've taken us back. So start your journey. When did you arrive from India, and how did you land up where you are today? So take us to the journey of your career in UK.
Yeah. So I came in 2001.
Like,
and India got a liberal economy in 90s when Manmohan Singh forest. So in those days, I was not particularly thinking ever of going abroad, because when I did my engineering as well, as it happens, that a lot of people aspire to go to the US, and then Silicon Valley, and the whole
being
phenomenon.
engineers.
Being
That
engineer.
was,
So
yeah.
there's a natural thing for some people to look at if you are interested in pursuing life outside India, which was not my calling. I wanted to be, as I said, at that intersection where I was using my own creativity. And I didn't know, I mean, the entrepreneur word itself for India has come much later. You know, and there was uh, businesses in India were not looked as entrepreneurial.
Right.
There's a very different mindset which has happened in the last 10 years. In those days, businesses were looked upon a bit negatively because that was the hangover of the socialist era
Yeah.
and the conditioning of Indian
License Raj.
license Raj. So businesses were generally looked down. It's not very late
No, definitely.
that it was the case. So I never thought of business and entrepreneurship. But definitely, I now realize that I was entrepreneurial. In those days, I did.
You doubted yourself, yeah?
No, I never realized that because that lingo itself is a very new lingo.
Yes.
Now, I think just generally everyone wants to be entrepreneur without understanding what that means either.
Exactly.
So it's a change which has happened in people's consciousness. So all I'm saying is that I didn't know that word, and it was not the lexicon of the day.
Right.
You know, it has happened much later. So it was more to do with creativity and trying to find my own path. And then I was in advertising. I jumped into an opportunity with one of the theatre groups from UK who were doing a workshop in India, which was sponsored, I think, the British Library or British Council. Yeah. So it was a 2-3 month break from work, and I did immerse into that, and I did produce a play.
You produced it, yeah?
Produced it.
Amazing. So did you had any experience doing that before?
No. I had the college occasional
Okay.
thing, but not really.
Not professionally or never done.
Never done it.
That's interesting.
So yeah, I ended up doing that at Prithvi, which was a big deal for me. And then just the spark, sometimes you have a spark and you think, how do I kind of now take it forward? And for me, I thought, because I was very much in the habit of going to British Library in Neville Point, and used to spend sizable amount of time there because I used to work in the Express Tower there. So it just happened in front of me that I saw these universities, and it just took a very random, ill-thought, ill-planned foray into a new life. And that was purely out of a need to explore something new.
Right.
So from Mumbai, I came to London, after I enrolled into a course in creative writing, which happened to be in Sheffield. I have first enrolled in London, Middlesex University, and then I decided I'll go to Sheffield for whatever reason, because they also gave me a scholarship,
Right.
which mattered at that time.
Yes,
So I went to
definitely.
Sheffield, lived there for 2 years, and that was life-changing because the whole experience of living here was different. He was doing odd jobs that got me a sense of different kind of life, because in India, you hardly have done anything physical because the society is a bit more divided in that sense that if you are studying, then you do a corporate job, or we never
White
did
collar job.
white collar job. Yeah. So I think that itself was a changing point
Right.
for me, because I used
So
to work.
what odd jobs did you do?
Yeah, so I used to work. So I went there. First person I called was the Scottish guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I called him, and he was running a cricket club, and I just saw it in a newspaper that he was looking for someone to manage the club.
Right.
So cricket club managing means the kids, very young kids used to come there at 6 in the morning or Saturday, Sunday, used to play from 6 to 11. So that was the job, to open the club, then go into the ground. The kids would come with their families, they will play. Then they would come to the place where there was a hot plate. So I used to then do the hot plate, which was basically the bacon and the burger. Being vegetarian, that was also new, but I did not mind. And then I used to open the pub, which I think legally was supposed to be open at 11 o'clock. So I used to open at 11 and then stay there till the evening with my book. So it was a very nice and gentle introduction to a different world, but also into a way of life. And that was, I was liking it for many other reasons, because it was a relief from the constant, the life of academic,
Yeah.
because India is a lot of pressure and used to be.
Yeah,
I think things are
definitely.
changing.
Still there.
Still there.
Yeah,
A lot of pressure on being academically inclined. So even if you are, there's the part of you,
the competition, the rat race.
rat race.
Yeah.
So this was different. It was different. It used to enjoy that bit.
Mm.
Used to be in the club, uh, and I think there was afternoon tea because I think in the afternoon the adults used to come and play. So the cricket was ongoing, and then occasionally you had those evenings where there were parties there, which was to be very busy, and where you standing behind the bar without a break for 3 straight hours, and your legs would go like jelly.
I think a lot of our audience who are students would really relate with this
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
So that person who got me that job, he listened to me for literally half a minute and said, "You're Indian," because my accent was very pronounced. Even now, I never consciously changed anything,
Right.
but even at that time, it was extremely clear that I was Indian. And he said, "Oh, you're Indian, and you're hired." So that sounded like music.
Wow.
I needed that job. So those were wonderful 2 years, and I got attached. And he was like, when I was leaving Sheffield, eventually for London, he was like very sad. But he introduced me to a number of things, and we kept in touch for a long time. So even when he used to come to London, and I have like the best regards for Scottish people because of him. And he introduced me to a new way of life because he was not just the one who gave me a job, but he always used to look after me, got me introduced. Sometimes used to take me out for lunch, got me introduced to red wine, and things like that. Way of life. So that was the beginning, and then I eventually came to London. So 2 years I spent in Sheffield, beautiful time, without that kind of a dreary schedule of an academic. But even then, I used to try and spend a lot of time writing and reading, but in a different context. But when I came to London, I think I got a job and eventually into a publishing firm. And then eventually that's what opened the doors to create my own business. And that was based on the influences, as I said earlier, what I could see happening. There were Indian firms setting up here. So the atmosphere was great for someone like me to step in there. And I could see that the whole cultural landscape is changing. We got into working with the government because there used to be COI, Central Office of Information, which is how the whole idea of multicultural advertising was formed. Because while working with the public sector, I could realize the briefs which we came to us were about different communities. And then I realized that, like the question you asked me, that I step into multicultural marketing thinking this is what I want to do. I could sense the history to it because Europe and UK became a country which is not diverse in the sense that if you go to any high street, if you go to Sheffield High Street, Glasgow High Street, Edinburgh, or London, it can be pretty much the same chain of shops, the same Burger King, same McDonald's, same KFCs, same TK Maxx, and same bar place, whatever. So there's a uniformity because of commerce and business. And that uniformity can be, in a way, taking away the cultural soul of this country. And if you read a bit of the history and the backstory, how this has happened is obviously the American influence and the global commercial influence, but also because indigenous communities in this country, for example, gypsies, then local communities slowly have merged into uniformity. And when you have like the Indian migration, for instance, I did a white paper, and the white paper again,
I saw that.
you saw it. So it demarcates different stages of Indian migration. So they're also not uniform. But the Indian community, and then the African communities, and the Caribbean community, and then other influences from Southeast Asia, like Chinese, Thai. So all those things have then merged into the UK mainstream, giving it some character. So, for example, Manchester, London, you have Chinatown, you have Indian areas, the curry miles.
That's right.
And I'm talking about food for now, but then if you see even the cultural landscape,
Yeah.
there's enough diversity. And that is needed for a country to be vibrant
Well,
and not slip into one of those places. For example, I was talking to a professor. He said we every year we go to this place, and I think it was Sweden, Norway, or somewhere. He said uh, the culture there is so set in stone. It's a struggle to get vegetarian food, for example.
yeah, I struggle with that.
Yes, yeah. So, point I'm trying to make it is that multicultural marketing on its own is meaningless, but when it starts connecting with communities, when it starts connecting with
Your purpose.
things with a purpose.
Yes, that's what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
So now you have established this here now 365. So do you think that you're a cricket lover?
Yeah.
Do you think that you have now hit a century in your match?
So we've been there 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your journey started 2001.
Yes.
So you 25 years in UK.
Yes. 25 years in the UK.
Yeah.
The business stands for 20 years.
Right.
At end of 2005 we started. And it's great that, yes, we made the connection with cricket. Yeah. In fact, cricket has been reinvigorated in many ways in the UK as well because of the South Asian connection, because of Indians, Pakistanis who have so much interest.
Yeah.
So there's in a way, thankfully, it has not died down because if you see football is the people's game, but cricket is the national game. And that's largely due to migrants.
Yes.
So we had Sir Ratcliffe who was talking about colonization. And that was, I mean, he's got every right to speak about that because, yes, there are influences and, yes, there are things which might have changed. And it's a very valid, and they'll never question free speech because this country should never question that.
Yeah.
But it's just that he doesn't realize that what he's talking about might be, in fact, better termed as recolonization because the one set of colonization which happened way back is just reintroducing those elements in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, deep dive into what Here Now does now.
What it does now, we primarily into brands who are trying to connect with diaspora. Obviously, any kind of marketing is about selling. So yes, there we sell.
How big is your team?
So we're about 25 people.
Wow.
So we're selling, if I have to put it in a very plain vanilla term, so we're selling everything from rice, lentils, spices, telecom, vitamins, and everything else, which, people from different diaspora consume differently.
Right.
So, for example, we do a lot of influencer campaigns on South Asian TV, on big channels, on ITV, and a lot of outdoor things our clients have, like, for example, Remitly, which is a money transfer app, which is now the market leader. We have clients like Tilda Rice, which were the first company in this country who were selling rice, which was at some point of time exotic enough, not anymore, and spice companies. So we work with East End Spices, TRS, and the company which owns it now. So it's a diverse range of clients, and you can see the purpose that what they're doing. So at one point of time, we worked with, for example, the Pataks, which started as a very ethnic brand. And a very interesting story is that in the 1950s, the brand was created when the British soldiers were coming back from India, and the Queen invited them for a high tea.
Wow, I didn't know about the story.
Yeah, so the Queen invited the soldiers returning from the subcontinent for high tea, and it was decided that since the soldiers were so used to spicy food and the samosas and all the things, so it was very clear that the menu has to have them.
Yeah.
And then this is how they found this. Yeah. This.
That's a new thing for me. So Manish, I know that you have launched major Indian brands in UK as well. ICC brand, Vardhaman Tea, and Disney Hotstar.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think these even the big companies, what are these Indian brands face challenges while they want to capture or succeed in European or UK market? So, what are the challenges and how you help them navigate those challenges?
It's a very good question. So I think the distribution, because these are mature markets, the distribution is fairly, I would say, it's not easy to achieve distribution through the mainstream networks. So if you were to get into Tesco's or Asda or Morrison's, it's a long wait. It's a struggle. But eventually the Indian brands have got in there.
Right.
So if you were to look for Parle biscuits, now it's available mostly in all the major supermarkets. If you were to look for Vatika, Dabur products, they're also there in most supermarkets or in Boots or in Superdrug. In fact, I met a student who said that some of the Vatika hair products are not available in India and they take it from here to him. So, things have changed. You have the
And I tell you my story.
Yeah.
I mean, I always lived in north and northeastern part of India. And when I came to UK, I tried so many South Indian achars and food, which I would have never tried being living in India. Because then, like Priya's, lot of kind of achars, which only comes to cater to the South Indian community who are based in UK. So, which is really fascinating that um, Gongura, if you know, I don't know, it's Andhra achar,
Yeah.
which me and my wife loves.
Yeah.
And we take it from here to our parents.
So you see, I mean, there are a few things I take it from here.
Yeah.
Indian products
Yeah.
from mother back in India
Yeah.
because you easily available.
Exactly.
You have to go to maybe a quality foods and you
exactly.
get it all.
Yeah.
So there's that evolution. Then there's this side that distribution is a difficult piece though for a new brand.
Yeah.
And we faced it a number of times. So for example, long back we launched a whiskey brand from India, which was listed in India called Seven Islands.
Okay.
And it was Seven Islands because it was the Mumbai inspired brand. So it was a whiskey brand. At that time, it was the first whiskey. I mean, after that, there's a lot of success stories like Amrit and now Indri. But that was the first one. And I know they had huge challenges. They were in fact trying to buy even a distillery in Scotland, which was so protected because you just can't buy a distillery.
Right.
It's all very protected. It's all very monopolized. You said the word. So monopolized. So those challenges continue for Indian businesses. But we've done well with some other brands, like we launched Brook Bond. So I remember when Modi ji came here, when Prime Minister came here, in his maiden speech in Wembley, the very first one, he said that there are two kinds of bonds he knows, James Bond and Brook Bond.
Wow.
And then he said, but I'm going to launch another Brook Bond, which is I think it was about the green bond or one of the broad bonds from the Indian market, which was being launched in London School of London Exchange. So I remember the speech, and that very next year, we launched Brook Bond here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a Unilever brand, available in India, not here.
Yeah.
But because of its popularity, they decided to launch Brook Bond and Taj Mahal tea. So there are those things because when the population goes away, this is the amazing thing that the flavor of the home, of the homeland, have to follow.
Yeah.
And very late, a few years later, we launched Maggi.
Oh, wow.
Because it was coming here from grey market, but it was available in Tesco, but from the grey market. Even Nestle didn't know.
Right.
And that's a classic story of a multicultural brands. Because Maggi for Indians, for Desis, is noodles. But Maggi for Nigerians is something else. And Maggi for Sri Lankans is coconut milk and coconut-based products. And Maggi for Malaysians is something else. So how
a brand become an identity of a product? Like Godrej means Almira in India. When you think of Almira, then you think of Godrej. Yeah, which is very fascinating. So you not only just do marketing for the Indian brands, but you mentioned Superdrug, NHS, Asda, Barclays. So you keep this brand also the diverse community at the same time. So how do you balance the demand of the minority community, if I may say, and the demand of the so-called big brand like Asda or Barclays or Superdrug?
So Asda, again, I have like a small anecdote and a great story.
Yeah, please.
I think in 2008, there was a time when Eid and Diwali were almost coincided because Ramadan and Eid was, and there was that year, and I was in touch with them because of the person who used to manage the ethnic brands, what you call World Foods, which is a range of foods from all over the world, which was a new thing relatively. It's not an old thing. It has all happened very recently. So 2008, this person who I used to be acquainted with, she decided to do a TV campaign, uh, keeping this in mind, for a juice brand called Rubicon, which is Rubicon mango juice. Now, it was one of the most popular juice brands at that time, owned by an Asian business. And we put together a project, a storyline, and permission to shoot inside Asta, which was very promptly turned down by the brand team because they were very precious and they had big question mark on my, who was I? Because I was
Your credibility.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
sensitive.
okay. It's okay. So how did you prove them wrong?
Yeah, so I didn't prove that wrong, but I presented my case, which was thrown out literally, as it happens in marketing world. And then, to the credit of this lady, she escalated all the way to the CEO, who was an American, and who took a chance. He said that if the market needs, we'll take a chance, and we'll take a chance with someone new. That's okay. So that's very unlike British attitude sometimes. But yeah, I got the chance finally, and on a Sunday evening, in a 24/7 ESTA. The only time they close is on Sunday evening till Monday morning to restock, which is when I got the ESTA to myself in Park Royal. And I was emptying these these cartons of mango juice into buckets.
You did it yourself, yeah?
My team, me and my team. That was like just a random team, just a few people on WhatsApp. And then propping it up in the eyes so that they look right. And we shot this advert, which was successful. And the World Food segment in Asta continued to grow. They were one of the
definitely
first ones.
and then
continued to
the
grow.
test present of the
It continued to give them double-digit growth when the normal growth rate was less than 1%. So has been a big success story. And that's the relevance of multicultural marketing. But then it kind of got me into places, like you mentioned politics, but I won't go into politics specifically, but purpose-driven. So like my white paper, which I also titled, and it was covered hugely in India as well, that how our community, in spite of all the migration challenges, continues to build Britain. Because Indian community is a big role to play. In the early 50s, when they rebuilt the country, like things like Heathrow, was built by workers from subcontinent. But even so lately, other than NHS, which was built by Indian doctors, the UK tech industry owes a lot.
IT coolies.
Well, you call them coolies, but I won't know. They're not coolies anymore. They started maybe like coolies, but now the AI industry, the software and the data industry,
It's all driven by India.
it's all largely driven to an estimated. So the hard data is that almost 15% is actually IT workers born in India.
Right.
So if I switch it around and say Indian origin, then it will be about 20%. And that's almost 1/5 of your technology workforce, which are largely Indians. And this has happened in the last 2-3 decades. It's not an old story. And again, the point I wanted to point out there is, while all this has happened, Britain has leapfrogged. So Britain was not known for its IT capabilities or tech prowess, other than being a science-oriented nation, but it lost to US long back. But UK is now the largest superpower in technology in Europe, and it's ranks number three after United States and China. So there are contributions which have to be taken very seriously, and which is owed to the Indian migrant worker days. So those kind of things I like to do.
Right.
But equally, I'm right now in the middle of a campaign where, and this is inspired by an Indian, Indian called Acharya Prashant. He's an educator and a teacher. And he pointed out that some of the things which Indians have inherited, which is, for example, gender bias, they've even migrated with it. Because the boy-girl ratio born to Indian parents in this country is abnormally skewed in favor of boys. And everyone has pointed out that there's some sex-based abortions against the grandchilds. So I'm launching this campaign.
That's absurd. It's happening in the country.
Well, I mean, it is. It is, like, among the most educated. And
I have 2 girls and we love them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So, there's possibly, I think it's skewed because they are looking for a male heir, and that creates this whole pressure So, typically they would have, like, let's say, two girls, and they would try and abort sometimes if they're not getting, or
So this is one of your, uh, what do you call it,
community-based initiatives. Yeah.
initiative you're taking. So I'm sure that these are all driven by passion or something you have inside that you want to um, use your power or your skills to make changes. But there must be chance in your career where you've said no to few things. I don't want to name you to name them, but due to your personal values, you must have said no to few brands. So what personal values have driven for you to say no to a particular brand?
No, thank you, Tony. So this is a good question.
Uh-huh.
So as I pointed out, that
Yeah.
yes, I don't want to look back and say, oh, I was just so busy doing a certain kind of work that I never even
Yeah.
kind of saw the opportunity to contribute.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's an opportunity
Yeah.
because in our lifetimes, we all have to kind of step beyond
Definitely.
the day to day,
Yeah.
do something which has a positive impact. I'm precious about few things. So one of them obviously is animal rights. So and I think that has something to do with the Indian values as well, that we would like.
Ahimsa.
Yeah, ahimsa. But more than ahimsa, I think compassion.
Compassion.
Because ahimsa might not be completely realistic in a world where, unfortunately, we have an ecosystem which kind of treads into few things. But yeah, so I would not I would definitely try to avoid anything which hurts animals.
Hurts anybody, yeah. Any
Yeah,
living.
or hurts any living being. So definitely that's in my value system.
I think that's where we both align. I'm
But-
quite pro-vegetarian, pro-veganism as well.
So yeah, so I would not do that. But having said it, as part of the beef,
Right.
there would be, if you're working with a supermarket, there will be grocery and there will be meat and stuff. So that's okay. I don't think I have a choice in that matter. But I'm consciously been trying to avoid anything.
Two things.
Yeah, no to things which are hurtful. And also on the ecology. Yeah, so anything which I deem is hurtful, I would not like that to be part of my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So now that India and UK have signed a free trade agreement, lots of product would be tax free and lot of things in the media. And I'm part of DBT, so DBT has just done that free trade agreement. So how do you see the India-UK relationship evolving in next few years? Because I think the proper implementation of FTA will start from April 2026 next month. So how do you see that in your business or overall India-UK business partnership would evolve in next couple of years?
So the India-UK relationship is at a very sensitive, vulnerable situation. And I'm saying all this because while we have all the bonhomie going and sound bites will sound great, there is an underlying sentiment, because of the success. So I think someone did say this to me the other day, and I think this was also quoted long back in one of the newspapers, where they said that Indians are the real Jews. And what this person meant was that success would lead to some kind of persecution. And I say, why you say that? And the view was that it is only seen parts of United States where Indians are being called out, partly is bigotry or racism.
Yeah, there's a big increase in the
and then and the fact that they are successful, they are being targeted. We have not seen that happening so much in the UK, thankfully. But the whole migration debate, I think, can any point of time turn in that direction. And I can see the this whole thinking that success needs to be in some way penalized is somewhere out there. I'm not seen enough out there from the
So you
government.
mean to say that although there are some bites in the media, but reality in the ground is not as the politicians talk on the TV? As a ground what do you think the ground reality of India-UK trade relationship?
So, taking a leaf over my own experience when
Yeah.
I was like asking even politicians
Mm.
to give me a forward on the Indian community,
Mm.
for example, on the white paper.
Yeah.
I think I found the moment I uttered the word migration,
Mm.
there was a little bit of reluctance
Mm.
because if migration has been set as an agenda
Mm.
by the far right,
Mm.
and now the far right has not said anything specifically against Indians,
Mm.
but it takes very little.
Yeah.
You know,
To turn
it's
around.
to turn around and
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm not seeing a very strong wording from any
Right. Politician.
politician
Mm.
or political party, or for that matter, the big statesman,
Yeah.
saying that look at the contribution of Indian community, which I was expecting.
So, Manish, this question I always have in my mind, and we Indian, wherever we go, we are the highest contributor in terms of GDP.
True.
And Indian students contribute heavily to universities.
Yeah.
That's why in Scotland, there are free university places for my daughter, because when she will go university,
Mhm.
she doesn't have to pay fees, because the Indian student contribute billions of pounds to pay as a university. We have the least number of people in jail, prison.
I can
And
talk about that as well.
yeah, so if we are one of the ideal migrant in any country want to have it, so what is the reason? I was recently reading about a girl was just a couple of days back was attacked on a railway station just because she was an Indian, so her eye socket was damaged and things like that happened. So why do you think we Indian face racism? Because uh, we are very welcoming. Me and you come from a background where we say Atiti Dev Bhava. Guest is always welcome. And we assimilate. Whatever I've seen, we are wearing a Western clothes and we are speaking in English. So we have integrated in the British culture. We contribute and help the economy. We help it holistic way to Britain. Then what is the reason that we face racism?
Okay, I mean it's a loaded question because
Yeah.
there's many layers.
Yeah.
So yes,
Unclaim if you layers.
yeah. So I'll come down to the what you said in the beginning, model minority community. We are, I think, proven beyond doubt. At least in three countries which I know, which is three of the biggest economies: UK, US, and Germany. Our an average income, median income, which you say is higher than the national average, higher than the, if I can quote unquote, the white majority in this country. LSC produced a report. The median income of Indian household is more than 200,000 as compared to the national average or white British average of 160 and much higher than others. Now, this is not a great statistic on its own
Yeah.
because it's about monetary values,
Yeah.
but it does show inclination to work hard and provide for ourselves and contribute to the economy. The other side of it is, which is equally important. I mean, I've been to prisons, not inside prisons, but to train people, juvenile delinquents, as they're called. So I've been part of the program for the Prince's Charity, which is now called King's Charity,
Right.
to go in and talk to them about opportunities once they come out, because they very likely fall into the same trap. And one particular prison I can talk. I mean, I can't make a generic statement,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can definitely talk about when I went to Leeds prison and I was looking at all the religious symbols on the board, because there was a community area.
Yeah.
So you'll have like a cross for Christian inmates, and you'll have like for Imam and for Jews and all the different religious communities.
Yeah.
And there was the names against each faith, and against the Om sign there was no name.
Okay.
So I was a little like curious. I said that, oh, and you don't have, maybe I thought maybe they don't have access to a priest. So I said, well, do you find it difficult to have a priest here? Because I can't see the name of a Hindu priest while you have everyone else represented here. And the warden turned around and said that, fortunately, we don't have any Hindu prisoner. Not a single prisoner in this high security prison, but every other faith camp. No, I would not say that it's not a blanket or general statement, but it shows you the inclination. And
So we are law abiding.
law abiding
I've seen
by mile.
I work with lots of students through INSA, and as soon as they arrive, first fear is that we should not break any law.
Yeah. So as a rule, they are.
Yeah.
even if they're breaking, I mean, this pun intended, but they're breaking tax laws. So, so that besides, I think definitely there's aversion to violence of any kind and good value systems. But moving on from here, why we not getting the kind of credit? So I think there's something to do with the political establishment.
And
Also,
not being vocal about our achievement as well, do you think?
I think vocal in the wrong way.
Right.
So there are people trying to vocalize, but then there's vocalization in the political way versus vocalization
For the community.
for the community.
That's
So
very good
you don't know what when you get vocalized by a political class, it usually works in a different way. It's not the ideal because the way politics works, it will head you back in some other way.
So your migration paper is a very good example where you've just talked about the
Community.
and their achievements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, as I'm saying, and I talk in the same breath about things like, for example, the gender imbalance. So the community has to
Come up
build
with
themselves
solution,
with its
yeah.
own solutions. It can't be driven by others. While its achievements are great and monumental. And if there are failings, then we are responsible and we have to stand up more than anyone else. Yeah, there's no shame in that. There's no, we can call it out and there's absolutely fine. But the community sometimes, I think in recent times, while you have a tendency to go jingoistic, where it's very easy to find some people who will go out in the streets and start shouting slogans and Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Well, I mean, it might be needed in some context, but that is what is not the ideal scenario. You have to create a unified voice
And lobby for it.
and law. So we failed in that.
We have failed in that, definitely. That's what I feel as well. So what can we do if if you're given a charge of Indian diaspora?
Right.
So like Manish is from now on is in charge of Indian diaspora. What are the practical 2 or 3 steps would you do?
So you have to understand the ecosystem. So the British ecosystem is such because it's the oldest democracy. What you can't do here is have a voice which is not authentically British. So you have to create that voice from here within the British and British Indians. And this is the other failing because sometimes I come across people who say that, yeah, our parents came from India, but we are not Indians that way. I said, what do you mean by that? And then the whole reasoning would be, we grew up here. And so my point to them is that if you grew up here, are you clear about which side if you're a part of a community, and these are the same people who would come in the front and say, oh, we represent the Indian community or British Indian community.
So there are opportunities in the sense.
Opportunities in that sense.
I agree.
So
I've seen such people.
so the generational divide and then kind of creating all this little divides because you're Punjabi or Gujarati or from the south.
I think if you look back, you've read a lot of books. So if you look back at history as well, because a lot of foreign rulers were able to rule us because we were divided. This is, don't you think, is in our DNA, in our blood?
Absolutely.
So it's very hard to unite Indians or Hindus, if I may say, British Indian, British Hindu, or wherever we go, we find a way to divide ourselves.
Yeah, so this is a way of just getting attention and some kind of political...
Becoming a, what do we call it, apne 20 logon mein Raja banna, it's kind of like...
Getting some kind of political limelight. Sometimes people do that. And I've seen them falling on their face. First, they would say that they're different, and then they would come around.
Yeah.
Because... So, I think the
first example is to have a voice which is British value driven.
British value driven. But when I say British value driven, I mean to say that it's rooted in democracy.
Right.
Because you see how the ecosystem here is. No one is above the law. It's not necessarily hierarchical. When we talk, we bring different voices together. And I think that's the need, but in a unified way. And I think that has not happened. There are too many subgroups and small groups that people running their agendas, and there's no real voice for British Hindus.
So what is the solution? How would you bring that unification? Tell me that. We want a solution.
Very good question. And I thought about it for a few times. So, for example, you might have 1 or 2 bodies, let's say, if it would say that we are British Hindus, we are representing it. But when you go into there, it's just a group of people. And I'm just saying,
party.
It's just a group of people
Yeah,
from the same background.
yeah,
There's no real desire in them to make it diverse or to represent the entire community. So I think it's time that we create a common platform. Yeah, a common platform.
Then ego comes into place. For example, I was part of an Indian Hindu temple. I was part of Hindu Fun, but a lot of organization. Then again, I realized that they are just there to satisfy their own egos rather than really working for the community. I'm not pointing out to any particular person or anyone, but I've worked with so many organizations. Then step back because I think there's a big ego at the play. For example, um, in one of the temple, I asked that why don't because you are catering to a diverse Indian community. You have two priests, both are North Indian. Why don't you hire a South Indian priest so that the South Indian community start feeling inclusive and they can relate? Because if I mean, if a South Indian person brought up in one culture and his puja or anything practices done different way, they will not feel aligned. But then I was shut for because I'm saying this. So I mean, there need to be mindset shift, definitely, and the ego is the play. So tell me the third solution. You go with two solutions.
No, I mean, so our diversity is a boon and a bane, So, I mean, unfortunately, like you'll have that situation, yeah. But I think the way I think possibly is that we have political representation, which is growing. And I think we need to possibly have them as part of it, along with the community leaders and faith leaders. So it has to be consortium, but it should not be a system where someone is there forever.
Yeah,
It has to be a
rolling roll.
100%.
That's a
Unless you have
that's a point taken. Revolving door, give opportunity to new people. Yeah.
because then you'll have otherwise, I would say corruption, but you'll have that kind of setup where someone wants to rule it forever and then they start using it as a.
I think I learned from somebody who says that if you want to bring change in the community, you detach yourself with the position. When somebody becomes, I am the president, I am the chair, they are so attached to that position that they don't want to leave it.
Well, people can have that, but it has to be fixed up. They have to relinquish it to give it to other people. Simply because then it will become groupism, and we have to bring new people, all that.
So now we've got so many Indian origin parliamentarian, whether it's Lords or Uday Nagaraju, who attended his ceremony. That bigger Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
So I can see, I'm not lived as long as you, but at least 18, 19 years of my life actually in UK, I've seen a drastic change of bring people actively participating in policy making. I joined civil services because I wanted to be part of, because when I went there, there was very few Indian people because they pay really less. So we are money driven. So we don't join civil services. Politics, there's a big increase in the number of people. So do you see positive changes are coming? Are you hopeful that things are changing in Britain from what we saw in 2001?
From what I've seen before,
Yeah.
there definitely is a lot more mobilization because there are a lot many more young people in the country, and won't say young arrivals, but they're definitely, the demographic is a lot more younger than what it used to be. So definitely that shift is there. And then they are a lot more vocal on social media. So social media driven, there are things like that. But where I'm not sure whether they're still engaging with the wider political ecosystem in a meaningful way. So I think that is something questionable.
So given a chance, would you like to become a politician or stand for a party?
Look, I'm right now taking some steps, and I've joined the Labour Party and I'm working with them because I think that it's a need of the hour. It's not about, I'm not saying A party versus B party, but definitely this whole mobilization within parties as well. There's someone, like I was just talking to someone yesterday and they said, we have a Labour for Hindus, but they don't do anything. Or do they have a Labour Party, this thing, but so all these things are like, dead ecosystems. So what it is for people to come forward, get into the and my reasoning for getting into the political ecosystem is simply because I don't want to be a spectator, like, someone standing on the,
definitely.
So people have
Be
to
the
get
part
it.
of the change.
Part of the change.
Definitely.
So people have whatever political
Yeah.
orientation they believe in, they need to get in there and they need to
Instead
ask
of
for change.
complaining,
They
get your
get it.
hands dirty. Yeah.
Get it.
So now coming back to you, personally, Manish, I see you everywhere. Whenever I open Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram,
I don't know if
you-
it's a good thing.
I mean, there's no event in Parliament. There's no event anywhere where Manish Tiwari is not there. So how do you manage to run around and be omnipresent?
Well, it might look like that. I'm not everywhere. But definitely, I do have links with a lot of people,
Right,
and quite a few times I'm very happy to be there for them.
right.
And also, it's believe in relationships.
Yeah.
So if
I'm like, I think I give value to relationship more than anything else.
that's
Even just to go and show the face.
Yeah.
For example, I have missed my train today. Just
so,
interview here.
that's it.
Yeah.
So I could see that.
Yeah, and then there's another thing. You won so many prestigious awards, including the Freedom of the City of London. In India, you got the Prabhasi Awards and so many things. So what one of those recognition which means a lot to you and why?
Okay, so I've been recently shortlisted by IPA, which is Institute of Practitioners in Empatizing,
Right.
and shortlisted for the list called iList, which is I think among 62 professionals who make a difference to the industry, and I think that's very meaningful to me because while you can get recognition from the community, but it's always by the people who know you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's good to get it from on a very professional term from people who don't know you.
So know your work.
They just know you well, so yeah, to be noticed by them. So I think that's something which for me right now was like I would say an achievement.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So coming to the last segment of our interview, because this podcast is about India, Indian diaspora, Indian student, and everything related to India and UK. And I cannot have a guest better than you, who is a living example of an Indian diaspora who came to this country 25 years ago, established a business. So many of my viewers are young professionals who want to take a leap to become an entrepreneur, but they are stuck into their 9 to 5 job. They don't have the courage to put the first step out. So what's your step-by-step guide to them to take the next step? Because we become so comfortable in our safe zone. Chalo naukri chal rahi hai, we will continue this, and then next month sochenge. They have so many ideas, but they're not taking that leap of faith to jump into entrepreneurship. So what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very relevant question. I think and everyone should think about this because when you use the term entrepreneur, now it has become a little bit like trendy word. So people like to call themselves entrepreneurs, and nothing wrong with that. But entrepreneurs are supposed to fill a gap
Yeah.
which others have not done. So a true entrepreneur would find a need gap solution. So, and I think someone I respect, Anthony Robbins, who's a master coach, and he says that if you're going to get into a business which someone else is doing, you better be at least a few 100% better than them to step into the same shoes. Because otherwise, what you're doing is you're competing endlessly. So if you're not really confident of being better than them, then there's no point in doing that. Unless your idea of entrepreneurship is a bit more like lifestyle oriented entrepreneurship, which is basically I'm an influencer and I love doing this and I do it in my own time